Part B. Alright, so here's what we're doing for Part B. We're going to start off on page 35, hopefully get all the way to page 37 because these are kind of fun-filled problems. Starting with number 1. Now number 1 is kind of like what we just did in Part A, where the denominator is already the same. If you look up here for number 1, the denominators are already the same, so you just combine the tops, x plus 6, so that you get x plus 6 over x plus 6. Well, what happens there? The top and the bottom are exactly the same, so they'll cancel off. And since they both cancel off, then you get 1. So that's my answer, 1, and that shall be letter E. Alright, check out number 2. Number 2 says this, 2x minus 12 over x minus 6. Well, on this one we can factor. You can take a 2 out of the top. So take out a 2, and you get x minus 6. On the bottom, you get x minus 6. And you'll notice that once again, the x minus 6's cancel off, leaving you with only 2. So my answer is A. Alright, let's try number 3. On number 3, I have the following. 6 on top, minus an x, all over x minus 6. Now technically, those are kind of exactly the same thing. If you recall, I can swap these and make it x minus 6. But if I do that, if I exchange them, a little negative comes crawling out, and then tweak, it's out here, a little negative. So now, I have the exact same thing, top and bottom. When they cancel off, I am left with a 1, but with a negative 1. So my answer is C. Number 4, I have 6 minus x. That's not an x. That's still not an x. 6 minus x over x plus 6. Is there anything to do on this one? Can we cancel anything? Can you move anything around? I mean, you can move it around, but then it'll just make x minus 6, which is not the same thing as x plus 6. So even if we switch it, nothing can cancel, nothing can factor, so my answer is just what it is. Letter H. Number 5, I have x minus 6 over x plus 6. These have all been the same denominator, so nothing's different here, nothing's new. So what we have here is x minus 6 over x plus 6, which is that one. So B again. Alright, we're getting to number 6. Number 6 is different now, because, let me separate this over here. Number 6 says 1 over x plus 1 over 6. Notice that the denominators are the same. I mean, they're not the same, they're different. I need to make these the same thing. How do I do that? Well, when they're completely different, like these are, x and 6, you simply just multiply them with each other. Multiply this by 6, and multiply this one by x. So just take one denominator, multiply it with the other side, take the other denominator, multiply it with the other side, and now they're the same. Now they're both 6x. So I multiply the top as well, the numerator. So I get 6 over 6x. On the right hand side, I can do 1 times x, which is x over 6x. And then I go ahead and combine the tops now, the numerators. The 6 and the x added together, so it's 6 plus x. The denominator is the same now, so I can keep that denominator. That's my answer. Where is that? That's letter D. And then we get to number 7. Number 7 is kind of like the one we just did right now. I have 1 over 6 minus 1 over x. I need to get a common denominator between these two, so I will multiply them by each other. The first fraction gets multiplied by x. The other fraction gets multiplied by 6. And then I get x over 6x minus 6 over 6x. Combine the numerators, the x and the 6 get added together, so that's x minus 6. The bottom is 6x. So that's my answer. G. Now we could go ahead and do number 8, but if you notice, number 8 is exactly the same thing. It's one fraction minus the exact same thing. So whenever you have one thing subtracted from itself, the answer is 0. So that's letter F. Letter F. Which was the only answer left anyway, so that had to be it. Alright, take a look at number 19. Number 19 at the bottom of page 35. You're trying to get a common denominator. So you have a 3 and a 5. Common denominator between 3 and 5 is 15. They can both be turned into a 15. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction by 3, multiply the other fraction by 5. They kind of did that for us already on the bottom. And then what do we get when we do that? We're going to go ahead and get 3z over 15 plus 5 over 15. And then just combine the numerator, the top, and that's going to give me 3z plus 5 over 15. And that's my answer. I can't reduce this. I can't take anything out of the top, so that's the answer. On number 20, multiply them by each other. Multiply this by 5, multiply that by 5, multiply this guy by 8. So I get 5p over 40 plus 24 over 40. Then I combine the tops. Now when I say combine the tops, don't really add them together. You don't add 5 plus 24 because one has a p, the other one doesn't. They're not like terms. But you just write them side by side, like this. Okay, so don't make it 29. Just leave it like that. The bottom's still 40. That's your answer. 21. Common denominator between 2 and 7. What is that? What is that? 2 and 7 can both be turned into 14. So multiply that by 2. Multiply that by 7. So I get 10 over 14 minus 7r over 14. Once again, I just combine the tops. Put them side by side as one expression. Then you're done. Right? Not too bad. Hopefully, not terribly confusing. But remember, if at any time you get confused, you can go back in the video, listen to it again. If that doesn't make sense, you can always come in and get some help here. Alright, let's try the next page. Page 36, turn that over. And these are kind of the same thing, we're just trying to get a common denominator. That's the key to all this. Get a common denominator first. The bottoms need to be made the same. So, take a look at number 22. I have a 9 and I have a 3. I can turn them both into 9s. You could also multiply them and get 27. But let's just turn them both into 9. So multiply the second equation by 3, and then leave the first one alone. Don't do anything to it. So I get 10 over 9 minus 3z over 9. And then just combine the tops, the 10 minus 3z. And the denominator stays 9. That's it. Take a look at 23. I can turn them both into 4, because the left is already a 4. So I'm going to multiply the second equation by 2. But notice that the second equation has an x. The first equation, the first fraction, doesn't have an x. So we've got to multiply that by x. So that we can get a common denominator. Here's what I get. Negative 3x over 4x minus 2 over 4x. What do I do from here? I have a common denominator. Once the bottoms are the same, I can put the tops together. So just put the tops together. That's it. Bottom stays the same. Once the bottom is the same, you leave it the same. Number 24 is kind of like number 23. I'm going to multiply the second equation by 4, so I can turn it into an 8, just like the other guy. But the other guy on the left is missing an a, so give him an a, so that they can both have 8a in the denominator. So now my bottoms are the same. Once the denominators are the same, I can go ahead and combine the top. Subtract. No, I don't really subtract these, I just put minus. So don't actually do anything. Don't change the numbers. Just write them together. Alright, it looks like they've done most of number 25 for us, so we'll take advantage of this. For the sake of time, let's pick it up from where they're at. Right here, where we left off, where they left off, we need to distribute a 3, and we need to distribute a 2. So here's what we get. We get a 3x plus 3 over 18, and you also get a 6x plus 6 over 18. What can I do with this? Well, I can combine the numerators, the 3x and the 6x, and make 9x. Combine the 3 and the 6 to get 9 over 18. After you combine like terms, go ahead and factor out a 9. So I take out a 9, x plus 1. From here I took out a 9 and took out a 9 there. Divide out a 9. 18 is on the bottom, and then here I just reduce. The 9 and the 18 can cancel off. That guy becomes a 2, and here's my answer. X plus 1 over 2. Alright, so it looks like we're going longer than I wanted to. So let me just jump over to maybe number 30. Okay, we'll do number 30 if we have time for one more problem. Here's what you're trying to do for number 30. Trying to get a common denominator between these two. I'm going to multiply this side by x and this side by x. And then I'm going to multiply this guy by x minus 4. Okay? So then, on top here, I'm going to get a 3x. I'll put it up here. And on the bottom, I get an x and an x minus 4. On the right-hand side, I get a, go ahead and distribute, I get a 2x minus 8 over x and x minus 4. The denominator is the same. These are the same. So I go ahead and now combine the numerator. So that'll be 5x minus 8. And on the bottom, that stays the same. If I could factor something, I would go ahead and factor it at this moment. But we can't. Nothing factors out of the top. So that's going to be my answer. 5x minus 8 over x and x minus 4. So the idea here is that when you don't have a common denominator, you have to come up with a common denominator. Multiply the bottom and the top by something so that the bottoms are the same. Okay? If that didn't make complete sense, we're going to go ahead and move on to part C of this lesson, which means I'm going to skip a couple pages here and go on to the next page. Click to the next video, and then I'll give you some more examples of what you need to do. They're going to get a little more complicated, but hang in there.